Justin to Mind Machine, and also welcome to all the viewers. It's nice to have you here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
You have come from far away.
Yeah. Florida.
From Florida.
Florida, USA. Yeah.
And I always ask this question in the beginning. How did music start for you?
Music started for me when I found a CD of Robert Johnson in my dad's collection. Somebody had given it to him. It was still sealed in the plastic.
Yeah.
And I opened it up and gave it a listen. And after listening to it the first time, I was like, I want to learn how to play guitar. And I was very lucky that the guy that sold me my first guitar also happened to play that style of blues, the Delta blues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you just was sold from the first.
Yeah, from the very first listen to Robert Johnson, I felt that on the inside and had to learn how to play it. Yeah.
And how many years have you been playing?
Oh man, I was back in 2003, so 21 years now.
Yeah.
Yeah, 21 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you have not been in Denmark for a long time?
A little over 2 years now.
2 years?
Yeah.
And you are married to a Danish girl?
Yeah, I met my wife on a video game during COVID, and she came to visit me in Florida, and then I came over here and never left.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Well, that happens.
Yeah.
Love takes you anywhere.
Yeah, all over the world.
Yeah. That's great. But My Machine is a lot about talking about the things behind the music.
Okay.
Like the mind behind it, the spirituality that is sometimes connected with it. So I'm curious also to hear about you. What do you write music yourself, right?
Yeah. Blues is a pretty easy format to write on. It's the same 3 chords all the time, just changed out a little bit in terms of like the variation, and then the lyric format is you say a line, repeat a line, and then there's a punchline. So
But you still have to have a story, though.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And when you hear about the blues and the stories in blues, it's like feeling. You have to have been going through some stuff.
Yeah, but there's all types of blues. There's happy blues. There's sad blues. Yeah, there's blues has many muses.
Also, the blues from the ancient blues, if you can call it that.
the old blues. Yeah, there would be some happier songs, and there would also be some very sad songs. But yeah.
So and what is the typical stories?
I mean, the most classic blues line is "I woke up this morning," right?
Yeah.
So that's how a lot of blues lines start off, and then about love and loss and. Yeah.
But isn't it true though that you have to suffer a little bit to be able to play the blues?
Well, no good art form. Well, no good art form or anything has ever come out of comfort.
No.
Whether it's painting or cooking or music, nothing ever comes from comfort. So always a level of discomfort.
Yeah, and that's kind of interesting also, because we talked a little bit about it the other day. Because in Denmark, it's very different from you're from Florida, right?
Florida, yeah.
Here, everything is very secure.
Yeah.
And very comfortable.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of rules, and there's a lot of you're not going to starve. When you're here.
Yeah, I'm sure it's tough to find a certain level of discomfort here for art.
You have to pursue it yourself, right?
Yeah.
But how do you see the differences in culture? You've been here with fresh eyes for 2 years ago, and I mean you must have experienced some differences and I'm mostly interested, of course, in the music culture and in.
Well, it's interesting that you say that artists have to go seek out discomfort, and all of my suffering has all been self-inflicted, right? Like I
imposed it upon myself.
Yeah, right. Like you fall into these traps and these patterns, and I've been very impressed with the Danish musicians. They're all very technical and they're great players. Every single one of them has been a great player. I've yet to meet one that wasn't good.
Okay.
So in terms of feeling though, like blues is easy to play, hard to feel. So I think if there were to be a great blues musician coming from Denmark, they would really have to seek out discomfort and a little bit of suffering, because it is very comfortable here. Things is provided for. Yeah.
Has it changed your play?
Yeah, I would say so a little bit. I would say my playing style has changed a little bit. I mean, just going through different things in life, you know, getting married and then having children now. So
yeah,
it's definitely changed my playing style in terms of just my perspective on life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are the biggest difference that you see, like from playing music here compared to playing music in Florida?
Well, in my personal life, playing now, because I play for my baby, I've been playing a lot of like lullabies and C chords and G chords, where it used to be E chords and A chords. But in terms of playing, it's difficult to get gigs here, and in the U.S. there's a lot of I guess they call it sort paying, cash under the table. Bars will have musicians play for cash under the table, and here they're very proud to pay their taxes because it goes to a good cause. And
it's well, we pay a lot of taxes though.
Yeah,
but
a lot of taxes.
but I think most people here probably agree that most of the tax money goes to legit good things.
Yeah. Even playing on like the street, like if I were to go busking, like when I practice, I don't like to practice in a bedroom. I like to go out and see how people react to it. Busking is playing on the street for change. Oh yeah, I've done that here. And a big thing is people enjoy the music, but because it's a cashless society here, they don't have cash to throw into the tip jar.
That is true. You have to like use mobile pay.
Yeah, mobile pay. And if you were not a resident of Denmark, you don't have mobile pay.
No. Oh yeah.
You have to be a resident.
Well, you can't get it.
No, I did. I've recently got it.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm officially a resident now. So
okay.
I have mobile pay. But when I was first here, the Danish government didn't allow me to work because I was applying for residency, and you're not allowed to work for that first year and a half. So you don't have a CPR number, you don't have mobile pay. No. So you really don't have opportunities to work. I
want to change the subject a little bit now.
Okay.
I have these cards. I told you a little bit about them. There are 3 different things on them. It could be a word, it could be a statement, or it can be a question. And your intuition is going to pick the card. And we'll see what...
All right. How many?
Just one at a time.
Okay. Empathy.
Empathy.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you think about empathy when in music?
I mean, to empathize with somebody is to feel what they're feeling, right? Not just sympathy to like recognize it, but to feel what they're feeling. So that's a big part of music, right? Is to have a message conveyed so people feel the way that you feel. And in blues, I think that was how African Americans, they really expressed themselves and had the general public empathize with them, you know, and they went through some things, and to hear it put into an art form and then feel that it's big for blues. Empathy is big for blues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree on that.
Yeah.
You also, if you're playing solo, like a solo artist, right?
I play like the 1930s blues musician, so one guitar and one guitar player. Yeah. Occasionally a harmonica player would come along, but it's usually just one man and one guitar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But when you play like in a band, so then empathy has to be even stronger, because you have to really listen to what the other play. You have to kind of know how the moods are that they are delivering with the instruments.
Yeah, I guess there is a little bit of a communication amongst bandmates, right, when they're playing to get into sync with each other. But I would also say that the solo bluesmen, they were really seeking empathy as a player. They had something, some sort of inner turmoil going on, and they were really seeking empathy.
Yeah, within themselves.
Yeah.
But also, I guess you also have to have it with some of the audience.
Yeah.
In order to get that ping pong thing going.
Yeah, to set the vibe, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And there is a lot of audience communication, right? Like even if you're not directly talking with them, there is a.
It is a big part of it. I agree completely. Otherwise, there wouldn't be any reason to go and see a live performance.
Yeah.
That's the whole idea, that you get a dialogue with the musicians.
Yeah.
Not maybe verbally, but.
Yeah, with mood, with dance, with movement.
Yeah. It's the kind of exchange of energy. I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a big exchange of energy. I mean, I feel very drained after playing. Like after playing a set or two, like all of my energy was put into those songs, right?
I kind of had the same experiences.
Yeah, and I've also had a lot of times when I'm speaking of empathy, when I play, the times that I get approached afterwards of playing, somebody will say, "Well, that song really spoke to me. That song really spoke to me." So blues is all about feeling, right?
Yeah.
And you evoke some sort of feeling in somebody else out there, and get them on the same track, or you may be feeling the same thing at the same time.
Yeah.
Through those songs, even if the origin is different, the feeling can be the same.
But have you never pursued any other styles than the early blues?
I'm kind of an idiot savant minus the savant part. I'm just an idiot, and I have a very narrow focus when it comes to that type of music. I may try to play other styles of music, but the blues is what speaks to me. And blues is in everything. Like a lot of the 60s and 70s rock and roll, they were listening to the same thing. And it is the same in terms of the chords.
And even the country also, a lot of it.
Yeah, I mean, blues is country. It's they were out in the country, and there's a little bit of there was Western country and swing, and then there was blues music. But they're kind of one and the same to me. The African sharecroppers that were in America, the freed slaves, they were cowboys. They were cowboys. They were country singers. They were country music players just for the black scene. They were they were country players.
And then of course there is a big melting pot of all genres in between that.
Oh yeah. I mean, you got the Zydeco down in Louisiana, where the big French influence, and that Mississippi's right next to Louisiana. And that whole southern United States is a big melting pot. They were working hand in hand with, the Irish, the Mexicans.
Yeah.
So there was a big influence. Like people like Charlie Patton, were playing for crowds of 100,000, 150,000 people, and they were all sharecroppers. And they were all mixed influence, and Charlie Patton's cousin, Sam Chapman of the Mississippi Sheiks. This is a fiddle band, pre-blues.
And what time are we at?
This is late 20s, early 30s. And they were playing for massive plantations, cotton plantations, and they were mixed sharecroppers in there. They were freed slaves. Yeah. And there were many people coming to the United States for opportunity, and one of those opportunities was working for those plantations. So they were playing to massive different crowds. It was almost the desegregation of music, really, the Mississippi Sheiks and Charlie Patton. They were approachable from all different races, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. It was way before the civil rights movement or anything, but people could all come together and play music together.
Well, that's what music can do. That is that special language that everybody understands in some degree. That's that's something.
Yeah.
Well, I think this time I'm going to shuffle it a little bit, just to, and we'll see what you. Okay. So, don't fall prey to negative thoughts. Be the gardener who tends your garden of thoughts.
Okay, that's pretty interesting. So don't fall prey to negative thoughts. Be the gardener who tends to your garden of thoughts. I mean, invasive thoughts and negative thoughts is kind of the foundation of blues.
Yeah,
right?
That's what I thought also.
That's a very cool, spiritually speaking, to pick that one. But they do make a garden out of it. They build something off of those negative thoughts that could be used as positive. I think Alexis Korner, he said that blues is the only form of mental disorder or schizophrenia that has found any sort of utility in modern society. So those negative thoughts do turn into something beautiful. I mean, when you listen to a song like Son House's Death Letter Blues, he gets a letter in the mail wrapped in a black envelope and a black ribbon, and that's how they used to tell people that somebody has died. And he was invited to the funeral, and he wrote a song called Death Letter Blues. You know, that must have brought a lot of inner pain for him, knowing that his girlfriend had died. But that's one of the most covered songs now. And, the White Stripes has done it. Derek Trucks has done it. There's been a few people that have played Death Letter Blues. But he really made a beautiful song out of that.
But sometimes it's also about changing them, the vibe, and so like for example, Beatles did with the song, well, I'm down, I'm really down, and I'm down, and it's like a happy song about being down. I mean, there's a lot of examples on that you can take a terrible story and make a beautiful melody to it, and then it kind of you kind of evaporates the negative in it.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of those old blues too, they had really sad words or lyrics over the top of major chords. Major chords sound happy as opposed to minor chords that sound sad. And I always looked at the sounds that were coming out of the guitar, like in terms of the rhythm, the major chords. That's the state of mind that the bluesman wants to be in. And then the lyrics are where he's at, and it's the internal conflict between those two that really creates that type of music. It's in between major and minor. It's happy and sad at the same time.
If you go to Africa, most of the songs there are in major. I was there in East Africa at once to play a tour, and they have these happy major chords in all the songs. That
when people think blues, they want to start playing. Like I say, I'm in the key of E. They'll start playing the E minor pentatonic, and even though the rhythm's in major, they have to fight some of those tone chords, the tone notes, and they bend that minor third up to a major third, and there's a third in between called the neutral third that's really common in blues, and it's fighting against that major bass with the minor lead. And I met a man here named Basiru Sosu. And he comes from West Africa. He plays the kora, and the kora is where the blues came from. It's a gourd, a calabash gourd with a skin on top, and it's got 2 sticks coming up with 2 rows of strings. So it's a double rowed harp. It's a lute harp. And he plucks it like this. And it's tuned to a major key, and that's where the blues came from. So when they came to the States, they had Western instruments. So they weren't allowed to have their culture as slaves. They weren't allowed to have it. So they had to play the songs that they knew on Western instruments. And even the banjo, I think it's called an ekonting, and it comes from Western Africa. and everybody associates it with bluegrass and country music, but it's an African instrument.
Oh, I was not aware of that.
And it's tuned to a major chord and a happy feeling chord. And even my guitar, I tune it like a banjo. I tune it to a major happy chord.
Yeah.
Even though I'm playing sad blues on it, it's tuned to a major chord. And that's where that struggle, right, is coming in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Also, there is one thing about this card that you draw, that you drew here, because it can also have a spiritual meaning. Like, do you believe that your thoughts turn into reality? You can turn your thoughts into reality.
Yeah, I definitely believe that you can manifest your reality through thoughts, and I think it's common in many cultures. I grew up in a Christian household, and like, watch your thoughts, because your thoughts become actions, or your thoughts become words, and then your words become actions.
Yeah,
and that's like I think,
and
a
it become habits. And
and it whatever you put your mind to is what your energy go towards.
Yeah.
So you can definitely manifest your reality through your thoughts, and to be the gardener who tends to your garden of thoughts. Like, you gotta come at peace with yourself, right? Like, you gotta.
Yeah. So what is your next musical goal here?
I would like to get a few more gigs over here, and potentially maybe play some of those smaller festivals around here. I think the Danish people, they really love blues. I see that they love Chicago blues, and they love more modern style blues, like from the 60s and 70s. They love like the British rock and roll. But I would like to bring old school American blues here to Denmark, and play a few more gigs around here.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's what I want to put on out there to manifest into my future, is to play all around Denmark, and maybe even a couple small festivals. That's what I would like.
Yeah. I think that is very possible.
Yeah.
And I think also it's nice because, as you say, most blues players in Denmark are mostly listening to blues from the 60s to the 60s, 70s, maybe
B.B.
50s
King.
also.
Yeah, they play
something like that.
Chicago style, B.B. King, Albert King from down in Texas and stuff.
Yeah.
They
and even later players like Stevie Ray Vaughan.
The screaming electric guitar lead and stuff. Whereas the Delta blues, or even roots blues, they were acoustic instruments.
Yeah, I think there are only a few of that type of players here.
Yeah,
I know a few, but I don't think this scene is that big yet. But maybe you can push it.
Yeah. It's an important style to keep alive.
Yeah, also because of the history behind it.
Yeah,
it's closer to the roots of where it started. Yeah. Of course, it started in Africa, but it changed when it came to America, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. You're gonna have the last card here.
All right. Let's do this one. There we go. Love is the most important ingredient in all music. Yeah. And I would say so. Whether it's love that you found or love that you lost. Love is very important when it comes to music, and when the blues, it's a lot of time it's love that's lost.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah. But love is an important thing when it comes to music. Bob Marley's One Love, and there was a famous blues song. It was originally sung by a woman. The first blues singers were women in the 1920s. And then the prototype of the male traveling bluesman that was going around with an acoustic guitar, they were covering these songs, and there's a song called Careless Love. I'm forgetting who was the original singer of Careless Love, but they were covering that song called Careless Love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you were to advise a new young guitar player that wanted to play old school blues, what would be the best advice you could give?
I would say don't worry about the quality of your instrument, because blues, they were playing on the worst types of instruments you could possibly find. The cheapest guitars with action is, the string spacing from the fretboard was about like 2 fingers high.
So no excuses there.
Yeah, no excuses on I need a better guitar, because often I see, and I was guilty of it as a kid, was I need a better guitar.
Yeah.
And then
but that's a convenient excuse, right?
Yeah.
Because then it's not you who needs to practice more.
Yeah.
No, it's the guitar is not good enough.
Going back to that discomfort, right? Like no good music ever came from comfort, and get a tuner. Learn how to tune a guitar, because your enjoyment will be a lot more if your guitar's in tune.
Yeah.
If you could play technically correct, but if your guitar's not in tune, it's not going to sound good.
No.
And then,
but a lot of these old guitars was not really that tunable.
Yeah, and that's why they did the open tuning with the slide.
Yeah,
with the glass or the brass on the finger is you could tune the 6 strings correctly, but when they press the frets down, it wasn't correct sounding. But the slide, it creates a very vocal, emotive sound, and you're limitless.
you can adjust it when you slide.
Yeah, you're limitless when it comes to the tones. So you could also get unlimited amount of wrong tones.
Yeah.
So, and just keep working on it. If I was telling a young guitarist, just keep working on it and listen to what you want to listen to and play what you want to play.
But have you? I really wanted to go more into the spiritual stuff. Do you consider yourself a spiritual person?
Yeah, I would consider myself a spiritual person. I'm an old soul. I've been told that quite a bit.
Yeah.
And anytime I go anywhere, whether it's in the United States or when I was in Hawaii, like these, not voodoo priestess, because when I was in Louisiana, that's like a proper voodoo priestess, but like a spiritual priestess, or like even here, I've seen some spiritual healers. And the first thing they ask me is, are you an old soul, or do you have spirits following you around? And yeah, I do. To play this type of music, you kind of have to be an old soul.
Yeah, kind of.
And when I start to drinking a little bit of liquor and whiskey, they call it spirits for a reason. There are times that I'll play something that I've never practiced before with my fingers, or I'll sing some lyrics or sing in a way that I've never sang before. And then a few days or a week later, I'll be listening to some random blues music, and I'll hear those lyrics, or I'll hear that riff. So a lot of times I do feel that the spirits, the blues spirit, they're using my fingers or using my mouth to say the things that they need to say. Old players, you know, and I've heard that quite a bit from other musicians too, that you tap into the ether and it comes out of nothingness into you and then out. A lot of times while playing, it's very rhythmic, and you're concentrating on so many different things at the same time, especially those country blues. They got the melody finger and they got the bass finger, so it's like 2 hands of the piano, and you do go into a transcendental trance-like state. It's a deep meditative state, and when you're in that state, that flow state, it does seem to put you in contact with the other realm, I guess. And the Delta Roots blues, as opposed to like the modern blues where they count 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. They had odd meters. Sometimes a bar would have 5 beats, and the next one would have 4, and then it's very much more like a communicating with a sentence. Like, you don't speak like this, and it's the odd meters and the syncopation. It's a little bit more freeform and loose. It's not constrained to 4 beats a bar.
No, that's kind of
It's a little bit more expressive in that way, where you can expand bars, and then sometimes you sang a really tough line and you yelled it out, so you need to take a breath before you start your next line, so you get to breathe a little bit.
But that's okay when you are playing only one person. But when you play with a band, that could be a hard thing.
Yeah, and I've had a lot of bands and people complain about that. And funny enough, the musicians that I grew up with, my bass player and my drummer, they knew when I was gonna put those little accents in there, but that's because they grew up with me. You know, we had played together for.
That's the thing. You have to know the music really well and the person. That's where empathy comes in.
Yeah. And but to just go in and sit in with another musician, they would get very frustrated with me.
Yeah.
And I can understand why. But that's why, you know, the Delta Blues, I think too, that it was just one man and one guitar. Because they were able to have no limits with their expression in terms of counting bars. They weren't counting bars. It was just them. They expressed themselves purely.
Yeah. And I wish you all the best of luck with changing a little bit in the music scene here in Denmark with pushing in some more old school blues.
Yeah, I appreciate you, man.
So thank you very much for coming, and thank you all of you for listening in and watching. And be sure to subscribe and follow. It means a lot. Thank you.
Thank you.